of this carelessness laid out very carefully. And then the idea that our democracy is relying on public servants to do the right thing.
And that's a very, that's a very slender thread. There's nothing surprising, I think, Alicia, that Trump is doing this. He's a 79-year-old man who's been on a revenge tour for 75 years. When he sued me, he said after he lost that litigation, the point of the suit wasn't necessarily to beat him. I just wanted to make his life miserable. And I think you're seeing this writ large across all the federal agencies attacking, the public servants he's attacking, and the U.S. attorney's offices that he's trying to defenestrate. Just inflicting the pain is the point. And I think it's really useful for you to say, how should we think about how these public servants are going to respond to this? Because we know who Trump is. We focus a lot of our thoughts on how can he do this? Well, he's craven. He's an outlaw. He's an authoritarian. That's all well established now. I think we have to really focus on the impacts of what he's doing, and then who are the actors who are going to stand up to ensure it doesn't continue? Where do they reside? In the federal government, in the legal system, among average citizens? Because it's clear the path Trump is on now. These aren't ifs. Might he do this? Might he do that? He is an authoritarian, and he's lawless, and he's trying to just rip out the foundation country because he can. And so who's going to stand up and get in the way of that right now?
Tim makes a good point. I think that every time someone from this administration speaks out, after they are fired, summarily dismissed, if you will, treated poorly, they do have the option to stay silent. But speaking up sometimes, and sometimes we see people speaking up through letters like Mr. Benary. Sometimes we see folks going to court. But speaking up and using your voice is the only way to fight back. And I am heartened, I guess, that there's actually a very healthy list of people within this government, career officials, who have been willing to speak up and to push back. But what Tim is saying, Catherine, is the president, he doesn't care. He is not acting like a man that is constrained by public opinion, by the next election, by the ability to want to get his agenda done. He seems unbridled. And so the people on the inside, as well as the people on the outside, and what the corporations and the independent law firms do is really important. I mean, he's calling for Lisa Monaco, who was the deputy attorney general in the Biden administration, to be fired. She worked at Microsoft. He's sending a message to Microsoft. Let's read it. It's my opinion that Microsoft should immediately terminate the employment of Lisa Monaco. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President DJT. Help me understand. Breaking moments ago, MSNBC has just confirmed, reporting for Reuters, that an FBI agent in the Washington field office has been fired. And they were fired for refusing to arrest and perp walk James Comey. Now, the Washington field office covers the Eastern District of Virginia. Comey is being allowed to surrender for booking at his arraignment next week. They Jim Comey.
Yes.
A reminder, Michael, that this is about humiliation and not actually about accountability or justice.
Absolutely, Alicia. It's always about Donald Trump getting retribution for the humiliation he thought or felt was placed upon him. And so to the same extent that, he had his mugshot. Well, he took his mugshot and turned it into a multi-million-dollar T-shirt.
Well, he also tried to steal an election. That's why he got a mugshot in Georgia in the first place.
Yes, but in his mind, that part didn't happen. What did happen was the mugshot. And so anytime he can find a corollary, and this was one, he wants to level that up as best he can and have his minions do the same. So, yeah, it is about the humiliation. It's about the embarrassment of it. And it's also about that retribution. And I just shout out kudos to that. And we've been talking about this. Within these institutions, the guardrails are there. The question is, can they hold those individual guardrails? Will they be able to hold? Which is why I say they need to lock arms more often to strengthen those guardrails against such things.
It just, I mean, we need to, I know Ken Delaney and our colleague is reporting this. Shout out to Ken Delaney and our other colleague, Carol Linnick. They have been breaking amazing stories over the last couple of days, really peeling back the layers for the American people about what is happening inside the Eastern District of Virginia, inside the Justice Department writ large. I know that we're going to learn more about just additional details about this, but on its face, it seems like there's grounds for a lawsuit here. FBI agents are not, they don't like the other public servants in the government. They do not swear oath to the President of the United States or to the FBI director. They swear oath to the Constitution and to the law. I think we always have to say this, or at least for me, it's very important. Look, James Comey is no sparkling flower, okay? He is not, there are many people in this country that feel as though the actions that then FBI Director James Comey took led directly to Donald Trump being elected the president the first time. None of that matters because James Comey is just one in a long line of individuals. So for folks who are like, oh, well, I don't know if we should defend James Comey. No, we have to defend James Comey and everybody else because fear is the policy here. That is their political weapon of choice, and they're using the full force of the federal government to enact political persecution and retribution on behalf of one man.
I think, Alicia, you have to, and I really kind of bristle when I hear folks, as Simone aptly referenced, make that comparison. Well, I'm not a fan of James Comey because of what happened in 2016. Okay, that's then. But the reality of it is you don't want the system ever to be weaponized against anyone, regardless of what they may have done in the past or what you may have thought of their actions in the past. What we need to stay focused on right now, folks, is what's happening to your neighbors, your families, your community, your country by a rogue president and a rogue administration of bad actors who don't give a damn about the Constitution.
From having a pride flag displayed on your desk to just doing your job prosecuting bad guys, seemingly anything and everything is now a fireable offense in the eyes of the Trump administration. MSNBC has new reporting last night that an FBI agent trainee was fired for simply having a pride flag at his ear. From that reporting, quote, the trainee, who previously worked as an FBI support specialist in Los Angeles, received a letter dated October 1st and signed by FBI Director Kash Patel, claiming he had displayed an improper political message in the workplace during his assignment in California under President Joe Biden. That's according to a copy of the letter shared with MSNBC. The agent trainee, who had most recently been assigned to the FBI Academy in Quantico, won an Attorney General's Award in 2022 in recognition of his work. The FBI did not respond to a request for comment. Just last week, Kash Patel fired at least 15 agents who bent a knee during the George Floyd protests outside federal buildings in Washington, D.C. What NBC News reports was a, quote, tactic meant to de-escalate the conflict, end quote. We're back with Carol, Michael, and Angelo. Carol, this is your reporting. Take us through it.
So a couple of, are we now at 20 hours ago, we were hearing reports that tipsters calling us in, telling us about an agent who was in training to join the FBI, had already been an FBI staffer, had been summarily fired, got a notice from Kash Patel that he had displayed something in his office that was, quote unquote, showed poor judgment because it was inappropriate political signage. This inappropriate political staff member had worked in L.A., and in his office there, he had a gay pride flag. This no longer was standing, but the reports of it somehow made it back to Patel, and he ordered the termination of this individual. I would say, Nicole, two things. It's really easy to fire a FBI agent in training because they, by dint of getting promoted, as this person was being promoted, he is more vulnerable to being fired as he's on probationary status at that time. That's a disappointing element of the firings. They often take advantage of the fact that someone's getting promoted and they have to be in the job at least a year before they have protections. The second is this idea that improper political signage might be a gay pride flag has just as not as seriously as your earlier segment about where we as Americans are less safe. It has also chilled people inside FBI field offices who now have to wonder what things might they have in their desk, what pictures or memorabilia might they be displaying that will run afoul of these MAGA rules that Patel is running by and using to administer the premier law enforcement agency in the world.
I have to just stop the flow of insanity for a second. I mean, is it legal to fire someone because you learn they're gay?
Absolutely illegal, and the Supreme Court found so. And I can't.
Tonight, the mask is off. What we're seeing unfold inside the federal government isn't rumor or speculation. It's confirmation. Confirmation that what we've feared from the outside is exactly what's happening within. A campaign of revenge, intimidation, and humiliation carried out under the banner of power. The stakes couldn't be higher. The foundations of American democracy, built on law, service, and accountability, are being chipped away by an administration obsessed with retribution. Donald Trump has always thrived on grievance. He is, as one commentator said, a man on a lifelong revenge tour. This time, his targets are not just political opponents, but the very institutions designed to hold power accountable. The Justice Department, the FBI, even career public servants who've devoted decades to their country. His goal is not to win battles of policy or law. His goal is pain, public, personal, and absolute. Consider the spectacle of a proposed perp walk for former FBI Director James Comey. Not because of evidence or justice, but because humiliation itself has become the weapon. The firing of agents, the intimidation of prosecutors, and the public shaming of officials all feed one agenda: control through fear. And then there's the chilling new chapter. Agents fired for displaying a pride flag. Others dismissed for acts of empathy during protests. These are not political crimes. They're symbols of decency, punished because they don't fit the regime's narrow definition of loyalty. Even private companies are being pressured, with Trump reportedly urging Microsoft to fire a former Biden-era official. It's a warning shot to corporate America. Fall in line or face the consequences. But through all of this darkness, there's a flicker of light. There are people still speaking up, writing letters, filing suits, risking careers. These are the real patriots, those who understand that silence in the face of authoritarianism is complicity. Yet we must ask ourselves, can these individual guardrails hold? Can institutions built on trust and law endure when those laws are twisted to serve one man's ego? This is not about left or right, Democrat or Republican. It's about the rule of law, about whether truth and justice can survive the storm of personal vengeance. Because if fear becomes the new policy of government, then the Constitution becomes nothing more than paper. The question before us is simple, but urgent. Who will stand up? Who will defend the promise of democracy when the powerful use its tools to destroy it from within? The time to decide is now.